The phantom signal, the warning klaxon, echoed through the bridge of the exploration vessel, Meridian's Edge, as Captain Maya Chen stared at the impossible readout on her command console. According to the ship's quantum communication array, they were receiving a distress signal from their own vessel. Arya, run a full system diagnostic, Maya commanded, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. Her reflection caught in the dark screen showed a woman in her early 30s with short black hair and the focused expression of someone who had navigated the Outer Rim territories for 8 years without losing a single crew member. Diagnostic complete, Captain, replied Arya, the ship's artificial intelligence, her synthesized voice carrying a hint of confusion that Maya had never heard before. All systems are functioning within normal parameters. However, the quantum signature of the distress signal matches our ship's unique resonance frequency with 99.7% accuracy. Maya's second-in-command, Lieutenant Commander Jake Rodriguez, looked up from the navigation station. His weathered face bore the concerned expression of a man who had seen enough strange phenomena to know when something was genuinely wrong. Captain, that's impossible. We can't be receiving our own distress signal. Run it again, Maya ordered, though she knew Arya's diagnostics were rarely incorrect. The AI had been her constant companion through 3 deep space exploration missions, and her reliability was legendary among the Terran Space Exploration Corps. The bridge of the Meridian's Edge hummed with quiet efficiency. Banks of blue and amber lights indicated normal operations across all ship systems. The main view screen displayed the stark beauty of the Kepler 442 system, where they had been conducting a routine mineral survey mission on the system's 3rd moon. The frozen world below them sparkled like a diamond against the cosmic darkness, its surface covered in methane ice that reflected the distant stars' pale light. Diagnostic confirms previous readings, Arya reported. The signal originates from coordinates on Kepler 4 for 2C's northern hemisphere, approximately 200 kilometers from our current orbital position. Captain, I must advise that quantum resonance matching at this level should be theoretically impossible unless what, Arya? Unless we are somehow receiving a signal from ourselves. Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's climate controls. In her years of deep space exploration, she had encountered phenomena that challenged human understanding, but this was different. This felt personal, as if the universe itself was playing a cruel joke. Jake, prep the landing shuttle, she decided. We're going to investigate. Captain, with respect, shouldn't we report this to command first? Protocol states that any anomalous quantum signatures should be noted, Commander Maya interrupted. But that signal is coming from what appears to be a ship in distress. If there's any chance that somehow, some way, there are people down there who need help, we're not going to wait for bureaucrats on Earth to debate quantum physics. 2 hours later, Maya found herself piloting the landing shuttle Pioneer through Kepler 4 for 2C's thin atmosphere. The moon's surface was a nightmare landscape of jagged ice formations and deep crevasses that seemed to swallow light itself. The temperature outside hovered at -180 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze carbon dioxide solid. Signals getting stronger, reported Dr. Sarah Kim, the mission's xenobiologist and quantum physicist. Her Asian features were tense with concentration as she monitored the readings from the passenger compartment. Whatever's down there, it's definitely artificial. The quantum signature is complex, more sophisticated than anything in our current technology database. Maya guided the shuttle between towering spires of frozen methane, following the signal, toward a massive crater that dominated the northern landscape. As they descended, her breath caught in her throat. There, partially buried in crystallized ice at the crater's center, lay the unmistakable outline of a Terran exploration vessel. "My God," Jake whispered. "It's identical to the Meridian's edge." Maya's hands trembled slightly as she brought the shuttle down on a relatively flat section of ice near the crashed ship. The vessel was buried nose first in the frozen surface, its hull showing signs of catastrophic damage. But the configuration, the markings, even the small dent near the starboard airlock that the Meridian's edge had sustained during a docking accident. 6 months ago, everything matched perfectly. "Arya, are you reading this?" Maya asked through the comlink. "Affirmative, Captain. Preliminary scans indicate the vessel is indeed structurally identical to the Meridian's edge. However, there are subtle differences in the quantum field emanations that suggest alternative configuration parameters. English, Arya. It appears to be our ship, but from a different quantum reality." The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. Multiple universe theory had been debated in scientific circles for centuries, but no one had ever found concrete evidence of parallel realities. If what Arya suggested was true, they were looking at a version of their own ship from an alternate timeline. "Life signs?" Dr. Kim asked, though her scanner was already providing the answer. "Negative. The ship appears to have been here for several weeks, possibly longer. The extreme cold has preserved everything, but—" Maya's voice trailed off as she realized what they might find inside. The away team suited up in their environmental gear, the heavy protective suits necessary to survive on Kepler-4 for 2C's hostile surface. Maya led the way across the treacherous ice, her magnetic boots finding purchase on the slippery surface. The crashed ship loomed larger as they approached, its familiar hull now seeming alien and wrong. They found an access port that had been blown open from the inside, likely by emergency. Explosive bolts. Maya's helmet lights illuminated the dark interior as she stepped through the breach. The layout was identical to her ship, every corridor and junction exactly as she remembered. But there were subtle differences of photo on a desk that showed people she didn't recognize, modifications to the equipment that suggested different choices made during the ship's construction. "Bridge is this way," Jake said unnecessarily. They all knew the way. Maya's heart hammered as they approached the command deck. Her helmet lights swept across the familiar space, now dark and cold as a tomb. The main view screen was shattered, and several control consoles showed signs of emergency overload. But it was the captain's chair that made Maya's blood run cold. Slumped forward, against the restraining harness, was a figure in a Terran Space Corps uniform. Maya approached slowly, afraid of what she would see. When she gently turned the chair around, her own face stared back at her, eyes closed in death's repose. The other Maya's features were identical except for a scar along the left cheek that Maya herself didn't have. "Captain," Dr. Kim's voice was barely a whisper through the cum. "Look at this." On the arm of the captain's chair was a personal data pad, its screen still glowing faintly in the frozen darkness. Maya picked it up with trembling hands and activated the final log entry. Asterisk. Captain's log, Maya Chen, Meridian's Edge, stardate 2387.156. The Echo protocol has been activated. I don't know what that means, but the alien beacon we discovered is broadcasting a signal that's somehow creating quantum duplicates of our ship across multiple realities. Arya detected at least 7 other versions of the Meridian's Edge scattered across different timelines. We tried to reach the source of the signal, but the quantum field became unstable. The ship is breaking apart. If anyone finds this recording, you need to know that the beacon is not just observing, it's experimenting, and we're the test subjects. The log entry cut off abruptly. Maya stared at the device, her mind racing to process the implications. 7 other ships, 7 other versions of herself and her crew, all apparently caught in some kind of alien experiment. Captain Arya's voice crackled through the cum from the shuttle. I'm detecting unusual quantum fluctuations in the area. The field is becoming increasingly unstable. Maya looked round the bridge of her dead alternate self's ship. On the science station, she found star charts that showed locations scattered across the system. 7 points marked in red, each one labeled with coordinates and a time stump. 7 other crash sites. We need to find that alien beacon, Maya said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. If this echo protocol is creating multiple versions of our ship, then our Meridian's edge could be next. As if summoned by her words, a new alarm began to sound through her comlink. Arya's voice carried urgent concern. Captain, I'm detecting a massive quantum surge heading toward our position. Recommend immediate evacuation. Maya grabbed the datapad and any other information she could find. But as they rushed toward the exit, something caught her eye. Carved into the metal bulkhead near the door were words in her own handwriting. The Leviathans tried to cheat death. Now death cheats them. Captain, we need to go now. Jake shouted as they ran across the ice toward their shuttle. The air around them began to shimmer with an otherworldly energy. Maya looked back at the crashed ship and saw something impossible. Another ship, translucent and flickering, occupying the same space as the wreck. Then another and another, like multiple exposures on an old photograph. The echoes are collapsing, Dr. Kim reported, her voice tight with fear. The quantum field is destabilizing. They reached the shuttle just as reality seemed to fold in on itself. As Maya fired the engines and pulled them away from the surface, she saw the crash site below them split into multiple versions, each one showing a different moment of the same tragedy. Ships crashing, ships exploding, ships landing safely only to be consumed by the quantum field. Set course for those coordinates on the star charts, Maya ordered, her jaw set with determination. We're going to find this alien beacon and shut down the Echo Protocol before it claims our ship to them. But as they climbed toward orbit, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that they were already too late. Somewhere out there, in other realities, other versions of herself were making the same decision, following the same coordinates, walking into the same trap. The Echo Protocol wasn't just creating copies of her ship, was creating copies of every choice, every moment, every possible outcome, and at the center of it all waited the Leviathans, whatever they were, and their experiment that had somehow continued long after its creators were gone. Breaking the loop, the coordinates from the dead Maya's star charts led them to a massive canyon that cut through Kepler 4 for 2Cs, frozen surface like a wound in the moon's flesh. As the Pioneer shuttle descended into the depths, Maya felt the weight of impossible choices pressing down on her. Somewhere in this frozen wasteland lay the source of the Echo Protocol, and with it, the fate of countless versions of herself and her crew scattered across different realities. Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures beneath the ice, Dr. Kim reported, her instruments going wild as they descended deeper into the canyon. The quantum field down here is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's as if space-time itself is being ... stretched. Maya piloted the shuttle through narrow ice formations that towered hundreds of meters above them. The canyon walls were covered in strange symbols that seemed to pulse with their own inner light, creating patterns that hurt to look at directly. These weren't human markings, and they were far too complex to be natural formations. "Jake, are you getting this on the recorders?" Maya asked, maneuvering carefully between the glowing symbols. "Every bit of it, Captain. Command is going to have a field day with this data, assuming we live long enough to transmit it back to Earth." As they descended further, the shuttle's sensors began detecting artificial structures beneath the ice. Maya's heart raced as she realized they weren't just looking at random alien ruins, but a vast complex that stretched 4 kilometers in every direction. Whatever civilization had built this had possessed technology far beyond anything humanity had achieved. "Arya, what's your analysis of these structures?" Maya asked through the comlink. "The architecture suggests a highly advanced species with mastery over quantum mechanics and dimensional physics," Arya replied, "based on the decay patterns in the quantum field. I estimate this facility has been abandoned for approximately 50,000 years. However, certain systems remain active, including what appears to be an automated research protocol. The Echo Protocol," Maya said grimly. "They found a landing platform carved into the canyon wall, clearly designed for spacecraft, though the design was nothing like human engineering." As Maya set the shuttle down, she noticed several other ships parked nearby. Her blood ran cold as she realized they were all variations of the Meridian's Edge, each slightly different from her own vessel. "How many versions of us are down here?" Jake wondered aloud. Dr. Kim checked her readings. "I'm detecting at least 6 other shuttles, each with slightly different quantum signatures. And Captain, I'm reading life signs from some of them." Maya's mind reeled at the implications. Other versions of herself were already here, exploring the facility, possibly trying to shut down the Echo Protocol just as she planned to do. The question was whether they were working together or if the quantum field was driving them into conflict. The away team suited up once again, this time carrying portable heating units to supplement their environmental suits. The alien facility's entrance was a massive archway covered in the same pulsing symbols they had seen throughout the canyon. As they approached, the symbols began to glow brighter, and Maya felt a strange tingling sensation even through her protective gear. "The facility is scanning us," Dr. Kim reported. "It's analyzing our quantum signatures, probably trying to determine which version of reality we come from." The archway suddenly dilated, open like an iris, revealing a corridor that stretched into darkness. Emergency lighting flickered to life as they entered, apparently triggered by their presence. The walls were covered in more of the alien symbols, but these seemed different, more urgent somehow. "Arya, can you translate any of this?" Maya asked, her helmet light sweeping across the strange markings. "I am detecting patterns that suggest a written language, but the complexity is extraordinary. However, some symbols appear to be mathematical in nature. I believe they are describing quantum field equations far beyond our current understanding." As they moved deeper into the facility, Maya began to hear voices echoing through the corridors. Human voices, speaking in languages she recognized, but with accents and inflections that were subtly different. Her heart hammered as she realized she was hearing other versions of herself and her crew. They reached a vast central chamber where the voices were coming from. Maya cautiously peered around the corner and saw something that defied comprehension. 5 other versions of herself stood around a massive control console, each wearing slightly different uniforms, each bearing different scars and expressions. They were arguing in heated whispers, their voices creating a strange harmony of the same vocal patterns but different experiences. "We can't just shut it down," one Maya was saying, her uniform bearing the insignia of a different space exploration organization. "If we collapse the quantum field too quickly, we might erase entire timelines." Another Maya, this one with longer hair and a cybernetic implant over her left eye, shook her head. "Every moment we wait, more ships are being pulled into the loop. I've seen the calculations. The field is expanding exponentially." A third Maya, bearing multiple battle scars that suggested a far more violent career, slammed her fist on the console. "My crew is dead because I hesitated the first time I found this place. I won't make that mistake again." Maya stepped into the chamber, her movement causing all 5 alternate versions of herself to spin around in surprise. For a moment, nobody spoke, the reality of seeing multiple versions of oneself too overwhelming for immediate words. "Let me guess," Maya said finally, removing her helmet to reveal her face. "You're all here to shut down the Echo Protocol." The scarred Maya laughed bitterly. "Echo Protocol? Is that what we're calling it now? I've been calling it the Zilithian Death Trap." "Zilithians?" Maya asked, remembering the carved message she had found on the crashed ship. The Maya with the implant gestured to the walls around them. "The species that built this place. Their records indicate they were trying to achieve immortality by creating quantum copies of themselves across multiple realities. The experiment got out of control and trapped them in an endless loop of death and rebirth." Dr. Kim stepped forward, her scanner trained on the alien console. "The technology is incredible, but it's also incredibly unstable. The quantum field is drawing energy from the dimensional barriers themselves. If it continues to expand, it could eventually encompass the entire system. Which brings us back to the original problem," said the Maya with longer hair. "How do you... We shut it down without causing a quantum cascade that destroys everything." The scarred Maya activated a holographic display above the console, showing a complex web of interconnected realities. Hundreds of points of light represented different versions of the meridian's edge scattered across the quantum field. "I've been studying this for weeks in my timeline. The only way to safely collapse the field is to create a focused disruption from inside the quantum matrix itself, which means someone has to stay behind." Maya realized the full horror of the situation becoming clear. "Not just someone," the Maya with the cybernetic implant corrected. "All of us. Every version of Maya Chen that exists within the field has to contribute to the collapse simultaneously. It's the only way to create enough quantum coherence to safely shut down the system." Maya stared at the display, watching the points of light that represented all the various versions of herself and her crew. Each one was a complete person with their own memories, their own relationships, their own hopes and fears. The thought of sacrificing all of them to save the primary timeline was almost unbearable. "There has to be another way," she said. "There isn't," the scarred Maya said flatly. "I've tried everything else. The Zilithians built this system to be self-sustaining. The only way to break the loop is to overload it from within." Jake stepped forward, his expression grim but determined. "Captain, if this is what it takes to save not just our reality but all the others as well, then we have to do it." Dr. Kim was studying her readings intently. "Wait, there might be another option. The quantum field isn't just creating copies of our ship, it's creating copies of our consciousness as well. What if we could merge all the Maya variants into a single quantum consciousness? Instead of destroying the alternates, we could combine them." The other Mayas looked skeptical, but Maya felt a spark of hope. "Explain." The Zilithians' mistake was trying to maintain separate consciousness in multiple realities, Dr. Kim continued. But if we could combine all the quantum echoes into a single, unified consciousness, we might be able to shut down the field without losing anyone. The neural stress alone could kill her, the Maya with the cybernetic implant warned. Better than certainly killing all of us, Maya replied. She looked around at her alternate selves, seeing the same determination in their eyes that she felt in her own heart. If we're going to do this, we need to do it together. The next hour was spent preparing the quantum consciousness transfer. The alien technology was incredibly advanced, but Dr. Kim's expertise in quantum physics, combined with the knowledge each alternate Maya had gathered, allowed them to modify the system for their purposes. As Maya prepared to undergo the procedure, she felt a strange sense of peace. She thought about her crew, about the countless realities where versions of them were fighting to survive, and about the responsibility she carried to save them all. "Arya, are you recording all of this?" she asked through her comlink. "Every quantum fluctuation, Captain. This data will revolutionize our understanding of dimensional physics." The process began with a low humming that seemed to come from the very walls of the facility. Maya felt her consciousness expanding, touching the minds of her alternates. She experienced flashes of their memories, their different choices, their alternate lives. She saw realities where she had never joined the Space Corps, where she had died in childhood, where humanity had never left Earth. But through it all, she remained fundamentally herself, the core of her identity unchanged by the influx of alternate experiences. The other Mayas were becoming part of her, their knowledge and memories adding to her own without erasing who she was. The quantum field began to collapse, the web of interconnected realities slowly contracting as Maya's unified consciousness took control of the Zilithian technology. She felt the moment when each trapped ship was released from the loop, their crews returning to their proper timelines. When the process finally completed, Maya found herself alone in the alien facility, her alternates having merged completely into her consciousness. But she wasn't truly alone. She carried within her the memories and experiences of dozens of different versions of herself, each one having contributed to saving all the realities. "Captain, are you all right?" Jake's voice came through her com, filled with concern. Maya smiled, feeling more complete than she ever had before. She possessed knowledge and experiences from multiple lifetimes, but she was still fundamentally herself. "I'm more than all right, Jake. I think I'm finally whole." As they prepared to leave the facility, Maya took one last look at the alien console, now dark and silent. The Echo Protocol was finished, the Zilithians' experiment finally laid to rest. But she carried with her the memory of every choice she might have made, every path she might have taken. The return journey to the Meridian's edge was quiet, each crew member processing the incredible events they had witnessed. But as they docked with their ship, Maya felt a deep satisfaction. They had not just survived an encounter with impossible technology, they had mastered it, used it to save countless lives across multiple realities. "Arya, set course for Earth," Maya commanded as she settled into her captain's chair. "Command is going to want a full report on this." "Course laid in, Captain. Estimated arrival time, 3 weeks, 2 days." As the Meridian's edge left Kepler 4 to see behind, Maya looked out at the stars and smiled. She carried within her the knowledge of countless possibilities, but she was exactly where she belonged, with her crew heading home through the vast darkness of space. The Echo Protocol was ended, but the echoes of courage, sacrifice, and human determination would resonate across the galaxy for generations to come. Asterisk.